10 rules, and I call it the 10 rules of engagement in storytelling. When we talk about rules of engagement, normally we're talking about the military, right? Um, and for me, I just thought that it actually told the story itself, just that that name, rules of engagement. There are rules of engagement with your audience when it comes to storytelling.
The storytelling KPI, in that you need to be able to measure the story that you are telling in your business. For you to be able to measure it, you need to know what are the KPI, what are the elements that you are going to use to measure it. Because of course that is what actually make it different from every other type of storytelling now. Because if you gather people together in the evening because there is nothing to do, you just happen to meet on the way and you are talking, you don't really need to have a KPI to measure that type of storytelling, because okay, maybe everybody is tired, everybody go their own way, now let's go to bed and sleep. But that is not what you do in business storytelling.
Well, maybe you grew up in Sicily, right? And in your area, right, there are not that many Sicilian Italian restaurants. So right there, it automatically differentiates you from the others, right? But how are we going to know that? We're going to have to figure it out by the story you tell us. I'm Jay Pascua. I'm a Chamorro from the island of Guam. That's the indigenous population of the Mariana Islands. And Guam is the southernmost island. And from there, I started my storytelling journey as a cub reporter for a local cable news station. And at that moment in my life, I was actually only 19 years of age, straight out of high school, actually. And I was out doing a story for um, for a local newspaper, just as a youth reporter, and I met a man who said that they had an opening for an internship at the cable news station. And the first thing out of my mouth was, "Does it pay?" I was a young I was a young teenager, and that was pretty much the only thing that was on my mind. And he said it did, and a couple of weeks later, I decided I would apply, and that's what kicked it off. And within a year or two, I was actually doing segments on air as a TV journalist, and really had a real good grasp of the news business since then. And even though it was the what we call now the legacy media business, it still actually translates to today's social media news and storytelling. And so that's where um, the origin of Jay Pasqua, the storyteller, began. Um, and I actually stayed in the news business for 15 years on the island of Guam in various roles. From a TV reporter, I was also I also worked with the news business in print. Kind of a dinosaur at this time, newspapers, right? They're going away, or they're going digital. And so I was actually part of the newspaper there. There was a couple of newspapers at the time, um, and I actually was employed by both at one point. Um, Moved into radio news, and then eventually became the editor of a business journal. And that actually was the end of my career in print. Went back to the TV business and wrote some things, produced some things for MTV Philippines for Guam. Had a few um, news items appear on CNN World Report at the time. Um, and I also had some things appear in the Associated Press way back in 1997. There was a Korean air crash that occurred, and many lives were lost. And I was a reporter who was one of the first on the scene to report on that. So, pretty tragic story. But um, I decided I would leave the news business and became a poet. And so I have a bunch of poems and writings in several anthologies in the United States and abroad in the UK, and now I'm the storytelling strategist. For 14 years, I've actually been in the contact center business, stepped away from storytelling, but now I'm back full force. So that's me in a nutshell.
That is really incredibly beautiful. That's interesting, no? That's really interesting. So you,
Yeah.
of course, you have been in the sector where storytelling is used often. Actually, okay, the media world, no, in the reporting, creating, all the whole ingredient that makes storytelling works. Because now you are in the business of making news. Of course, you are going to have to look for a way to be able to make sure that the people believe what you are saying. Because sometimes it is not as simple as it might appear, and it's not as straightforward as it might appear, because you are tickling with the emotion of the people. You are creating a frame of reference for them. You are helping them to decide what is right and what is wrong. Well, in itself, these are not very simple things to do. But of course, you have done this for a number of years, for over 15 years. And that makes you a good candidate now to be able to explain to us what we have in stock today, which is brand storytelling. So let's get it from the basis. Now, somebody is trying to understand what that even means. How do you describe it? Brand storytelling.
Brand storytelling essentially is elevating the story of your business from just services and products to establishing an emotional connection, a rapport with your audience, with your customers, with your client base. And so it really becomes almost personal. And that's why a lot of people also call it personal branding. And in this digital age where there's a lot of noise, right? There's a lot of information out there on the internet. Stories, your personal story, your brand is going to need that story to be able to stand out against that noise. And so it is extremely important to understand that stories, for me, and I say this all the time, stories aren't, storytelling isn't just fairy tales and unicorns. Storytelling can actually allow you to really connect in such a way with your clients, with your customers, that their loyalty will show through as a result of that personal connection. So that to me is brand storytelling.
Hmm. Thank you for that. And of course, we are again talking to you now from one who have a good background in how to craft a story. Because when you are in front of the camera as a television presenter, you understand all the different facets of the communication, the story, and the storytelling, the telling of a story, how to craft that. So these are important for us. We don't take that for granted. So it's an opportunity to talk to you, having that worth of experience. But there is something that you said there that really sort of stand out to me that I would like you to